Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. This is Captain Doc Scanner on board the Starship Pariah, and this is the Patreon edition of the Doc Force tonight. And we just did an amazing hour with Tony Rodrigues, and we're about to delve into it a lot deeper. If you are watching and you're like, how do I get into the chat room? On the bottom right, there's that little YouTube logo. Click on that. It'll open up this on that page, and you can get into the chat room and join in on the fun. All right. So without any, I'm not going to do a bunch of hobo stuff or advertising or anything, but I will say these people below right here, we got new ones. Colin O'Brien and Curl. Thank you very much for becoming Patreon members for this evening. I appreciate you. And thanks to all the others. And it's all their names are right down here at the bottom. And without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Tony Rodrigues. How you doing?
Hey, man.
All right. The last hour was just awesome. Let's get crazy.
Well, you know what? I back during the election time, I had a couple shows scrubbed off my Patreon. Like Patreon is by and large pretty safe, but they will get you. There were things that they were getting. We had shows where we were talking about the election. I think they deleted 2 of my shows before. Well, whatever. I forget how it was. Like if we talked about it in the Cliff Notes or how it worked, but Patreon, you can still. It's still tricky. So they're still out to get you, but it is nice to be able to talk about stuff a little bit more free than in public. And I moved to Patreon because what it does is it stops the spam bots from trolling your comments. So, you know, it's not even real people that come by and troll your stuff. It's fake people. It's fake. They're bots that do it. Oh yeah. You can pay, there's services out there. You can pay $50 and have 1,000 negative comments on somebody's video. Like it's their bot. This is a legitimate technology.
Okay. Because I have heard of these things called bot farms, where they have rows and rows of cell phones, and all their job. Well, the one when I was watching this documentary on it, the one job of these rows and rows and rows of cell phones were to download songs. Artists would pay these companies to download their songs to get their numbers up.
That's right. And the algorithm is as such, it works the same. Like I learned this, you know, I'm a woodworker. I'm a wood floor guy by trade. So I'm not really techie anymore. Not like I was in my 20s, but I'm learning this with the book is that's what happened is the more reviews, the more clicks you get, the more the algorithm puts you in front of people.
Can you I'm sorry, brother. I'm sorry. I just looked for some reason. It's scheduled this for 2 p.m. Hold on. That sucks.
Yes, sort it out.
Yep, hold on. That's a big, because I mean we're still technically, you know, doing it's recording and everything on YouTube, but let's see here. Why? There we go. Back to this. Schedule posting for June 24th at 2 p.m. That's not what I put in there. Oh, this is something fishy in the air. How do I edit it? It's automatically publish your post at a specific time in the future. No. All right, well then let's do this. Hold on 1 second. I might be able to figure this out. We're going to go view on YouTube real quick. I'm going to grab that link. I'm going to start a new one. Saying I know. Huh? Why is it doing that? I'm sorry, Tony. I apologize.
No worries. Do your thing. I have tons of tech diff that I still work with on my show.
Yeah. We're going to just delete the post. Do that. Delete the post. Okay. Create a new one. Live stream using YouTube and view on YouTube. Hold on. Get that link here. Copy and get rid of that so it doesn't feedback. Oh, the joy of live production. All right. Tony God G U-S. Take a space for room. I hate when this happens. Error. Why'd you do that? Why'd you do that? Dude, you were saying you being on people's shows causes things. This is weird.
You know what? What's funny is if it happens once or twice, you go, yeah, well, stuff happens. But there for a while, I had a good 2 years of it where it was like every show I did something, there was a technical difficulty.
Uh-huh. There's Paul. This is weird. I can't do it right now. Let's see. Select the tiers. Got that. And then the schedule. I want to requirements. Start on listed. I already did that. Show me how. I typed in your name and the whole thing went blank and it refreshed the screen. Do this again. Okay. Copy. Paste. Well, okay, so then we put secret space program. Okay. All that's there. Live stream. What time is this? 8:38. Yeah, it has it set for tomorrow for some reason. I don't know why it did that. Okay, so the 23rd. Wait. 23rd, and then what time is 8:38? I'm gonna put 8:39 or 8:40. Give me a second. So 8:40. Pacific Standard Time. Okay. Publish now. Here we go. Okay. Why aren't you publishing now? Add the following requirement: a live stream. Oh. Paste. Oh, shit. This is so much fun. Copy. No. Control Z. Bus Control Z.
How does it work? Are you do those? Are we live?
No.
So you're not recording?
We will be in just a second.
How does it work? Are you do those?
Oh, shoot. I'm watching a delay. Let me get rid of that. And then publish now. Bam. Okay. Click start thing. There we go. Hey, all right. Okay. Let's see if there's a long delay on that. Let me turn that on mute. All right, so I can see we are on Patreon now. Ooh, hi folks. For those that were waiting, we had a little technical difficulty there, so I apologize for that. We're gonna jump right into it, ladies and gentlemen. Here's Tony Rodrigues.
Right on. Thanks for having me back.
Oh, no problem, dude. That last hour was epic. Probably some of the most decent numbers I've had in a long time because I was out for about 6 months. And if you imagine like an Indy grand car race, being in the pit stop that long, you got to really catch up. So I'm really happy that you're here. Now,
thanks.
I wrote some things down, like colony life battles you may have been involved, where there's space pirates, because there was a movie in the 80s that I loved. And I knew that
Space Pirates was an awesome movie.
Yes.
I love that movie too.
I wanted to be in that so bad. And then, speaking of that, space herpes, did they, space diseases, did you have to deal with that, or did you get special shots?
People did get sick.
So yeah, I wanted to go through each of those individually, if that's okay, or anything
people
that you want
did
to talk
get
about
sick
first.
People did get sick. There was social distancing. There were people that came from certain places, so there were ETs that brought things. I had heard rumors from the girls that there was interspecies, there was forms of like a herpes that was interspecies that was much different, that it behaved differently. But there were viruses. There were viruses that spread between life forms that were different, and but people did get sick. The doctor was that you'd go to the doctor at the drop of a hat and get checked out. And it was a lot more elaborate than getting a checkup down here. It's like when you go to the doctor here, it's a quicker thing. When we went to the doctor up there, it was a few hours of getting, running on the treadmill, and
it's very thorough.
It was very thorough. That's right.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think off the top of my head, anything other than that. But people did get sick. There were diseases, and there was protocols against it, but they stayed on top of it. For the most part, we didn't get a lot of like mass checkups or anything. Like, I basically stayed in my enclosed area most of the time. So I'd get up, go, you know what I mean, like go get corralled with a bunch of guys, end up in a train station, ride a train to the hangar bay, get in my ship, and we'd go on the mission. I'd come out and go home, and that was pretty much the routine. So I didn't travel to I wasn't exposed to a lot of different things most of the time.
So you had like a sectors that you would patrol, or
you mean like, places in the colony that I would frequent,
or that you were, I mean, like everything's compartmentalized. So it's like certain sectors you couldn't go into, certain areas.
So on the ship, so there were places on the ship that I never set foot. So the front mid section of the ship, I never really saw what was going on there. I had no idea. I wasn't in the early days when I got my memories back. I didn't remember any weapons systems on the ships because it was classified from us. Wow. It was classified, but there were other people that came forward and said, "Man, the freighters had better weapons than a lot of the explorer ships." To defend themselves. And, I think about a few conversations where I'm like, man, they were talking about weapons. I didn't even realize it. But I didn't know, because they compartmentalized the ship so much, because other species would come fly up next to us or near us in space and could psychically scan the crew. And so some of them were protected against it, but the crew in the back where I was in cargo, they just kept us, they kept us unaware of what was going on. So that if we did get scanned and they could take the information from us mentally, that they wouldn't get anything, because we just didn't know. We had plausible deniability.
Well, yeah. What do you know what was up in those areas? Like, if I'm thinking maybe, well, I'm guessing, but what do you think was in those areas that you didn't get to go to?
Honestly, it could be any guess. I don't know. It was completely closed off for me. So I was allowed to take a couple of different hallways corridors to get to the bridge when I was summoned there. And in the
Mhm.
mornings, I would go to the bridge, to the briefing room behind the bridge, and then I only had one hallway that I could go back to my position every morning. So I
Did,
really I
did,
don't
did,
know. I
did,
never
did,
knew.
did they have like the colored lines down the hallways saying where you? Did they have things
The
like that?
carpet had lines in it. No, so the ship didn't have that. It had carpeting with lines in it that you could follow, but for the most part, no. It was pretty easy to know. They would tell you that you stayed in this corridor and you went down, and you could exit on, uh, you know, A,
Where,
B, or C fast ladder.
where,
1, 2, or 3 fast ladder, or the stairs at the end. That was it.
were you tagged? Did you have a chip so they knew where you were at all
I had
times, or did you have
I
more, a
had a
little more freedom?
collar. I had a
Oh,
collar. So they
wow.
could shock me with the collar. They told us they could kill us with it, but nobody ever died from it. So, like, nobody was murdered with their collar. So we just didn't believe it. But they told
Mm.
us that they could kill us remotely with it, and we had to wear it every time we left the barracks area. We had to put a collar on to leave. And when we came back at the end of the night, some nights they wouldn't take it off, and most of the time they did. They would take the collar off, and we'd go to bed.
Was it really bulky?
Not too bad. It was just you'd get sore. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you'd sweat in there, and it was like a branded metal. It was like a what do they call those? Like a braided metal, like a stainless steel metal
Mm.
cable. It was
Okay.
two cables and a little box that was there, and it would fall around. You'd orient it back, to where it was comfortable. They put it on kind of loosely. It wasn't too bad. The worst part about wearing the collar was that it was embarrassing because people automatically knew you were a slave. And you got treated bad as soon as people realized you had a collar on. You couldn't hide it, and so it was more of an embarrassment than a just inconvenience.
Wow. And do they say there is explosives in this box or anything like that?
Something like that. They said they just said it was lethal. So I don't know. We never knew. And like I said, never heard of anybody getting killed with it.
It just sounds like Snake, Escape from New York. They inject him and said, "You get out of line," and then they do it in. Did it in the Harlequin movie, Suicide Squad.
Oh, they're in a ton of movies now.
Yeah,
it's like when you look for it, but
right, and some of it's becoming the norm. I talk a lot on my show and with some of my guests about how entertainment is used to desensitize us to these things, to go, oh, that looks feasible. And then when it really happens, they're not as shocked. They're more acceptant of it. Which, if you look at Star Trek, I always use Star Trek as an example. A lot of the technology, not all the really, really cool stuff like teleportation, but a lot of it, we see today. Oh, you're laughing. You probably do they have it? Is it real? I was told it's impossible because when they put all your molecules back together, you need like an electric shock to get your heart going again. Please tell me differently. I want to know.
Well, the systems that I witnessed were portals, so they didn't break you down and turn you into a beam. It was a direct wormhole, and you walked right through it.
So unlike Stargate, where you're pulled into particles through it and then put it all back together, there's none of that. It's just you stay all intact. Just
maybe, but the experience was just walking through it. It was a little weird, and there was a poof, but you just walked right through, and you ended up where you were, and you were stunned, like your ears ringing and kind of a little dizzy for a second. As soon as when you got there.
I have recently become obsessed with cymatics and Roslyn's Chapel in Scotland. Okay. And you being someone that's walked through these things, I want to ask, does the mechanism or the hardware is there any element that involves frequencies or sound to tear open that veil from one place to another?
They're not in the one that I used. No, not the one that I witnessed. It was pure electricity. It was a great deal of electricity that they used, like a radiation. It was an exotic power, and it was impressive. They said that it took a great deal of power to turn the thing on, like and they told me the number, and I had no idea. It was like right over my head, you know.
Like,
Like so,
88 gigawatts, or just
yeah,
just from Back to the Future.
8.21 gigawatts. Yeah, like
That's
I had no idea what it
gigawatts.
was. I had no idea what the number represented,
Now
but
let
they
me
said
ask
it
you:
was an incredible amount of power that it took to turn
did
it on.
it? A lot of people like say there's like parentheses or something that controls and holds that opening in place, or were these portals just opened up? Because I heard you
So it
say
was a
poof.
room. Yeah, it was a room that we went to.
Oh, what happened to my camera?
It's in the book. You zoomed in.
I
All of a sudden, we got
this-
a cameo, man.
This is sorry. This is an AI computer, and I guess I did a hand gesture, I guess, and it. Yeah, no. Luckily, I found the download for the program for the controller of it. Before, it was just going free willy nilly. But anyway,
when I was writing the book and I was describing the time that I went there and kind of walked through a small single person sized portal on the moon, the room that I described, there was two giant slate stones, black stones, where the portal appeared. There was one above it, like square, like a square black stone, maybe a foot and a half, 2 feet thick.
But with a door opening carved out of it.
No,
is that what you're saying? It's just just a black
stone.
Like
imagine a stage. Imagine a stage at a theater, and on the stage would be a giant black stone, maybe 10 feet by 10 feet by almost a foot and a half, 2 feet thick, laying there on the stage.
Okay.
And then there was a little runway that was level with it, and you'd stand there. There was a line that said, "Wait here until we tell you to go." And above it was another stone. There were two of those.
Was it
stones? And they were black. And
was it levitating, or was that
no? They were just sitting there. They were fixed in position in the room. So what I found was that Jackie Kenner, who's edited my book with me, I forget the name of this. She said there's an oldavite or some kind of shale stone they use that doesn't allow radiation to pass. She said, you're describing this. She looked it up. She's like, was it like this? And I was like, yeah, it looked the same color. I forget what the stone is, but there's a shale black stone that's like a moldavite. I don't know if I'm saying it right. I don't know. I don't forget the name. But that is a radiation barrier.
Hold on. Is it something that it's a kind of stone that when, let's say, a meteor hits the Earth or a planet, it ejects everything into space? And it comes.
I don't think so. I think it's a natural thing, but it's a radiation barrier.
Because this one right here, let me show you this. Oh shoot! Oh, it won't because it's the color green and the green screen. But this thing glows like kryptonite, but it's black. And I've always and it starts with an M, and it sounded familiar. So I was like, "Is this it?" So I guess not.
Radiation shielding, shungite. Shungite is a stone, a black stone. I'm looking it up right now, but anyhow, that's
okay.
I mean, describing it, it was a big room like that, and then in between those two stones, a ball of greenish light would appear. And when you got close to it, you could see, it looked more like a chrome ball. You could see the destination where you were going when you got within 3 or 4 feet of it. Like when you stood back, it was a green shining light, a ball like a beach ball sized. And when you got close to it, you could see it looked like a chrome ball, but what you were seeing was wherever the room you were going to or wherever you were going to, you could see it. And then when you got closer, all of a sudden you were there. When you walked into it, just boom, you were there. You had to walk into it. It's not like Star Trek where you stand still and they beam you. You had to walk into it.
Okay, so did you said it was like a beach ball size, so it would expand? Was that the control by, like, let's say, operators?
No, you would go into it.
Oh.
So you when you got close to it, you became the circle as well. You know what I mean? Like it was a warp in time space. So that was a little. It was a little weird to walk into it wholeheartedly, but they said walk into it and go the same speed. Do not alter your speed because there's risk of injury. If you got to the edge of it and then quit walking, like something could happen. They were like you could get injured. So just walk the same speed, keep walking right into it. And when I did, I ended up in a staircase in a building, like in a stairwell, and it was freaky. And then Yeah, it's in the book. I mean, the whole thing is in
Yeah.
the book. Under Chicago is the cat, I believe, is the chapter. And at the end, they told us when we lined up that they would be able to see us where we were. They said just face the moon, face the direction of the moon, and then it would appear. And it did. It was the exact same thing. And we walked back into it. We went right back to that room.
So are these only open for the period of time they use them, or are these left open all over the place and you guys
No,
just know
no,
where to look?
no. They turned it on. They were two guys at a giant computer station in the
Okay.
other room, and when they turned it on, they flipped the switch, and the wall became clear, so they could see us in the room where we were going. Like they were behind the wall, and when they turned it all off, the wall got solid again, so you couldn't see that area, that stage area. But they were in a room that was like lowered down, like it was like a stage,
Mhm.
and they had a big, like a tilted round, like a giant desk that was a computer system that they were working, and they were Americans, I believe.
Oh my God. I feel like I feel like you're describing something that a gentleman named Andrew Bishago mentioned about the chromosphere helmet or whatever, and he had to go onto a stage. It was like a high school stage, and that's where he had these visions of seeing Christ and all this other stuff. I actually know the guy. We were roommates for about 3 months, and I have my ifs about him. But the fact that you're talking about something that went on a stage that just came up to the front of my brain. I'm like, damn it.
Well,
But
this was on the moon. It was underground. It was an underground. It was a
wow.
deeper facility on the moon.
So the moon is it completely hollow and it's like a spacecraft?
I have no idea about what the inside like. So it's very sorry. I don't know if you heard that. I'm having stuff pop up here.
No, it's
Uh,
okay.
it's was very classified. So the surface spaces where we had access to as humans, we could go into, and there went levels down. But as the farther down you went into the in underground, it was it was higher classified,
And
like a
and
higher
and this was
security.
did you do this walkthrough portal thing to the moon, or did you
No,
go
we
by
flew
ship?
there. We flew there. Yep,
Is
we
it is
flew
it
there and went into it. Actually, so at the hangar bay that we went into was actually lower than the other hangar bays. Like there was a crater that you flew into, and you went
mhm.
down farther to a lower hangar bay. Like it was a completely kind of off limits area to most of humans. It was a high security area of the moon.
What could you, because I know there's a lot of things you don't know or you may not be able to say. The questions are just swimming in my head. And I'm like, which one do I grab onto
Let
next?
them fly, man. Just go for it.
What did you guys do for leisure? Or did you have any time for leisure?
At the end of my stay, I did. So, I was on Series Colony for something like 12 years.
Wow.
And most of the time, I did not have leisure time at all. I was completely, just like I said, I'd woke up, went to work, and went back. Towards the end, I got promoted where I got a small amount of a paycheck and I had leisure time. So I could afford a ticket, a day pass on the trains and just go walk around the
So,
colony.
so they have a working economy
Yes.
in other places around there. Is there like a commonality, a certain type of money that many species use, or is it you have to know all the different languages and all the different
That's a good
currencies?
question. Honestly, that's a great question. So, this part of my testimony flies in the face of some other people that say that all ETs don't have money anymore,
Mm.
and that wasn't the case at all, for what I remember. So, I hope I'm wrong, but we had what was called the trade window. So we didn't have a bank; we had the trade window you go to, and it was at the very end of the hangar bay. Was one of my trade window basically that I went to.
Okay.
And it looked like an old Greyhound bus station, like a big station, like a train station,
Okay.
with all the old marble, the tile, like with the marble step. It looked like it was from the 30s.
Hmm.
It had that kind of construction. You walked up to the window, they had the ladies behind the window, and you'd wait. And I actually, that was where I saw most of the ETs that I met, was waiting in line there. I would wait in line next to them.
Wow.
When you got there, they had cryptocurrency, they had paper money that was Series Colony
Wait,
money.
wait, wait. So crypto isn't something new we came up with.
Mhm.
It's been out for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So
and it worked a lot. Many of the same. She explained it to me. She kept telling me to invest my money in crypto if I wanted to make money, and I was like, it was at risk, so I didn't do it. I was only getting like $20 a week, $20 to $40 a week, francs.
Wow.
They called it francs there.
Huh. So you said like Expanse is probably one of the closest series or movies that you could relate to.
Series Colony. The Expanse has a really good representation of Series Colony. Like I'm pretty freakishly close to what I remember.
Are people born? I mean, are people taken from here? And a sub question: would that be an explanation of why so many people have disappeared from this planet? Disappearing from the woods or being abducted or whatever. Are they being taken by force?
So the labor force is being taken from Earth. So they're taking us for labor.
Okay.
There.
But
people that have an unusual gift that are useful, they'll take to do a job there, or just the raw labor. Like we were, I believe that most of the guys like myself that were slaves on Series Colony were taken from prisons down here. I think they're taking people from prison. And if you look at the 13th Amendment, it's perfectly legal. If you've been convicted of a crime, no man shall be held in slavery in the United States unless convicted of a crime, is what the 13th Amendment says. Yep. So they abolished slavery, but they also made it perfectly legal. If you get convicted, they just say a crime. They don't say what crime. So I think that it's legal for them to take people from prison and put them in 20 backs and use them for slave labor, for manual labor in the colonies. And that's how the infrastructure is getting built out there.
And you had no, I mean, when you were sent back, even in your own mind, it was boom, 10 minutes earlier from when you were taken.
I woke up the next morning. So I went to bed on Thursday night and remember being taken, UFO and the phone ringing and bright lights out in the yard.
Right.
And a gray taking me. And I woke up the next morning. I woke up on Friday morning. I went to school. And I felt like I'd been gone for 20 years. I had the sensation of being gone. Like I had to relearn my way around school. I was no longer interested in my toys. I was like, wow. When I got home that day from school, I remember going to my pile of toys on the floor in my room and looking through it going, holy shit. Like I had the feeling of, wow, I remember this.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had that experience. That was what it was like.
Wow. So technically you're an old soul.
Yeah, technically I'm something like 80 years old, 70 or 80 years old.
Well, yeah, because they'll say, certain people like, and I've been called an old soul because I had an encounter. I don't remember being taken. I remember waking up. I was a 2-story house in Sacramento, California. My father was in the Air Force. So, there's a possibility I was just a little lab rat, military brat. And what had happened was my bedroom was upstairs above the garage facing the street. And I woke up, it's pitch black darkness in my room, except light in the window. I go to the window, it's daytime outside. I see my grandmother with her car saying, come on, it's time to go. I'm like, okay, grandma. So I turn around, the room is still pitch dark. I go to the door, open it up, and I walk down the hallway. My parents' room was at the back end of the house, and the stairways was in the middle. And I get to the top of the staircase, and I'm standing. All right, so this is a step, right? And I'm standing on top, and my body just goes like this. And I didn't know what to do except dog paddle, because my parents had just taught me how to swim in the swimming pool. So I dog paddle all the way down to the floor, and then I come to my feet. I open the door, and there's this big bright flash, and then it fades out. It's the street. The lamp comes on, crickets and stuff come back, and I'm like, grandma, do it 3 times. I turn around, I go back inside, and I close the door. I got to about the first or second step of the stairway, and my father comes around the corner with a rifle ready to shoot me, thinking I was an intruder, with my mom hanging over his shoulder. And years later, I got in trouble for sleepwalking, basically. But years later, when I was 16 or 17, we were on a plane, and first time he ever talked about anything. He was like top secret pilot kind of thing, so he didn't talk about jack shit. And he threw the C-130. He was, I think, the last C-130 out of Vietnam. So he starts telling me about the Aztec pyramids and how they're all connected. And so I thought, ooh, this is my chance. And I said, hey, Dad, you remember that night you almost shot me? And he was like, oh, yes. And I said, can I tell you my side of the story now that I'm older? And he was like, yeah. So I told him my side. And he just was sitting there just baffled. And I said, I know it sounds crazy, but I just wanted you to know. And he goes, well, let me tell you, son, to this day, I don't know how you got to those 6 locks on that door when you were 3 feet tall. Because he was hardcore about security. So that kind of solidified something happened. But, and I'm not trying to get on no bandwagon. I mean, your guys' thing, because that happened to you. Then I don't think it happened to me.
There's smoke, there's smoke. You have to investigate.
Well, I'm trying to do the hypnotherapy thing and all that, but I haven't thought on it too much until I heard your guys' story. And I don't have any. I mean, I've had a vivid of imagination. I've been in the entertainment industry. I worked with Spielberg and stuff. I had all this craziness, Disney and Universal Studios. So I have that, and I understand that I have that, and it's an active imagination. So I told my therapist, I said, I want you to take me to under and find out what really happened that night. Was I sleepwalking? Was it a dream? But how did those locks get unlocked?
How old were you?
I was 3. I had 2 abductions. There was that
Super
one,
young.
and then the second one was an actual physical abduction. A guy kidnapped me from the local pool, and luckily I got away because he put me in a corner to play with toys while he took one of the 2 girls into this bedroom, and on the speak and spell it said "Run home now," and the front door was unlocked.
Wow!
And I walked around the neighborhood. So it was a very crazy, traumatic year. But my mom says I seemed a lot more older, more mature for my 3-year-old age, and I've been told I'm an old soul.
What year were you born?
1973. Check this out. You're gonna love this if you do numerology. It was 10/28, 1973. So you have 10, and then you got 2/8 is 10, then you got 7/3 is 10. October, yeah. So it's a bunch of 10s across the board. And
well, did anything happen to you in 96?
Let's see. 96, a lot of stuff. You mean like encounters?
Maybe, or like a personality change, a huge life change.
Yes. In 96?
In 96.
Well, no, that was 2002 when my dad died. Oh man, that was some good times. I was in Orlando. I was working at Universal Studios. I was working on Spielberg's Sequest DSV. I was hanging out with Jonathan Brandis at the bars. It was a fancy free, working on cruise lines as a DJ.
But no, like sudden change in behavior or anything like that, like sudden.
Well, yeah, actually, which I don't know if I'd want to get into on here, but yeah, actually, now that you got me thinking to the year, because I graduated.
So what I found with all the people that I work with. So look, I'm not a researcher, I'm not a doctor, and I'm not a college grad. I'm a hardwood craftsman, but I also experienced what I went through. I went through what I went through. So many people started reaching out to me and they were like, Tony, help me. And I was like, oh, well, I guess let's just write down what you got and let's see what happens. And time again, when I started to really break, because everybody says, man, I was outside, just the same exact story you gave me. And then there was another time, and then there was another time, and then this happened. And I go, wait, whoa. Slow down. When did that happen? Let's write this down in order.
Let's get a timeline.
Let's get it in order, and let's tell me when. And what I found is that at the 20-year, usually there's an intake, there's an original event, which is very powerful, which people tend to not forget. And there are other events that are like vague. They go, man, I know something happened, but it's funny because when I think about it, I can't remember it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go, they're in 20-year increments. And I go, I take your intake event. What I did was you were born in 76. So, or
73.
You were born in 73. So you were 3 years old in 76. So
yes.
If that was an intake event, then roll the clock 20 years
20
later.
years. That's where you got that.
Happened. And what happens is more times than not, people go, "Oh, you know, it's funny because I was sobered up and I went to college. I got a divorce. I got my shit together. All of a sudden, like my whole life changed." And time and time and time again, thousands of times, I can roll the clock. I can find the event, roll the clock, slap 20 years on it, and go, "What happened to you in 2002, 20 years after?" And they go, "Wait a minute, how'd you know that?" Like it's over and over again. So
No,
it's not
and
some kind of random shit.
it's actually funny you mentioned that because I had somebody recently tell me about I I think it maybe was an 11-year cycle or something, but it's a cycle that everybody goes on. Imagine everybody gets a roller coaster ride, right?
Mhm.
And you're in your time slot on the front seat. Well, there's other people along the train that are in their seats in the timeline that are going through the same thing, but not at the exact same time. And that's why certain people and couples, which I found out, so they're not all couples are on the same track with each other. They're like this. So when this person's going up and this one's down, that's where you have all those issues. So if you can find somebody who's on that same cycle where you're experiencing the highs and lows together, it builds a stronger relationship. So anyway, that's something I learned because you mentioning cycle, but yours is 20. So that's
So
interesting.
another thing that's coincidental or not with that was that once Andrew Bashago called me, we talked on the phone. We talked for a couple hours, and he wanted to pick my brain and see if he wanted to see if I was real or not. You know, like I
Right.
think it was like,
Well, he's an attorney. He loves doing
he is
that.
an attorney, and he did
And
kind of cross examine me.
he is a brilliant man. Don't get me
Yeah,
wrong.
it was great. I took away a lot of positives from it, but
Yeah.
he explained that the Pegasus program was locked into 20-year increments as well. So when they went back in time, they could, because like the Earth has got an energetic cycle of 20 years. So they could go back 80 years or 60 years or 100 years, but they
Just as
couldn't go
long as it's
85. It had to be in a 20-year increment
increments of 20.
because it was the same kind of energetic signature as they were on now. So maybe the ETs are locked in the same event. So when you think about some of these programs, they can grab you. I found this too. I found this to be kind of self-evident, not conclusive, but that they take people, and for them it's the same day. Like they in the morning, they show up to the office, they go take you out of your house in 1990, and they begin their experiment, and then they go back, put you back, and then later their afternoon, the same day, they go to the year 2000, 10 years later, and take you again, and because you've grown 10 years, and they're continuing their experiment. Then they put you back, and then later that evening, it's one day for them. They're still at the same office. They okay, bring him back in, and they get your 20-year-old self. And what I found is that seems to be happening as well, and also locked into a 20-year regimen, 20-year cycle of things. So they tend to be taking women, and
Well,
there's a lot there. The breeding program is very real.
yeah. And I'm pretty sure they probably have agreements with other breeding programs here on Earth. Golly. You said breeding programs, and that threw me where I was going to go. What was the thing you were saying before breeding? Oh, where'd you go? Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. I said too much. I said too much. Oh, no. I'm having one of those days. I hope he can come back, because yeah, that would just suck. I hope he comes back. If not, we'll have him come back. I'll get him again. He said he said he would do it. Hold on. He just said he got cut off. Figured something. Internet seems down. Okay, so we might. Okay. All right. I'll call it a night and give you a call in a minute, and give you a call in a second. I'll call in a minute. All right. So his internet just went down. I didn't like what I had to say. Wow. Patreon, I hope you enjoyed it. Sorry, we had that little, like I said, we had issues just trying to get on originally. The fact that this has happened again, it's crazy. It's crazy. So, okay, it's 12:15 a.m. here. I'm gonna crash. All right. I'll call you later. Call you next week. Let me just put okay here. There we go. All right. So yeah, that all went down. But we will have him back. And what I would like is for you guys to, leave me messages on what kind of questions you want me to ask, since some people weren't able to make this round. What I might also, I don't know. It's here. You can see all the drama right here, right now. Hope you all enjoyed this conversation. We will have more in the future. Fingers crossed. The NSA allows us. Until then, everybody, please remember, as long as we all lift each other up, we will all rise together. I'm Captain Doc Skinner on board the Starship Pariah, and this is the Doc Force. Good night, everybody.